Welcome to Zolder. It's time for the third race of the 2012 FIA GT3 European Championship here at Zolder. And as in GT1, we turn the sprinklers on before this race gets underway. We've made the circuit nice and wet, just as it was bone dry earlier on for, as I say, the third round of this championship. My name is Jack Nichols. Hayley Coxon is going to be running around the grid, telling us if they're on wets or slicks. And alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson. John, I'd heard a lot about the Belgian weather. It's raining and then it's dry and then it's raining and then it's dry. But it's not until you come here that you realise that actually that's absolutely true.
Well, first of all, nobody wants predictability, and just by magic somebody's turned the tap on, but also they've turned the freezers on because the ambient temperature now is 7 Celsius, track temperature 13 Celsius. So the prospect of the track maybe drying out during the duration of this race is diminished, because frankly there's 11 cars I think taking part in this race, and the temperature, the track conditions, it's going to be slip sliding. Well, James Taylor got it right many years ago, one of his great albums, Slip Slop Sliding Away. Absolutely. So a similar condition to the one we had in 2 weeks ago in Nogaro. We saw briefly a few moments ago the calendar for the remainder of the season ending in Zandvoort in the Netherlands in early October, just like the GT3 season ended in Zandvoort last year with a fantastic brace of rounds. You can see the rain coming down. It's not affecting most of these Belgians milling around the paddock. It's that kind of light rain, as Peter Kay would say, and the cars are taking to the grid. You can see there on pole position the 51 AF Corsa car. Stefano Guy will be starting that machine before handing over to Michael Lyons. They didn't qualify on pole position. It was actually the third place car. Team Nova driver Cesar Campanico was quickest, but he was docked 2 positions on the start grid for using the incorrect set, I should say, of tyres. Yes, they used a set of tyres from the previous round in Nogaro. Now, it's a bit of a schoolboy error to do that because the tyres should be marked up clearly, but you never know, maybe human error and all that just came into play, and in the panic to get a set of tyres on, somebody put the wrong set on. I'm surprised they still had them mounted, frankly, because obviously, it is fundamental that you don't use a set of tyres that are not eligible for the event you're taking part in. But, who am I to say?
There you can see one of the Russian motorsports Ferraris making their way round to the grid. I think that's Vyacheslav Maev, who's going to be starting in 10th position into this final chicane. And it's not, it's the other one, I apologise, it's Miguel Torrell, who's going to be starting in 7th place on the grid. You just saw coming into shot down that back straight the offending Team Nova driver car. We also had another penalty handed out to Mark Sword in the number 16 Scintillating Racing Audi. He had a spin and beached it in the gravel, but the marshals pushed him to get him back out onto the circuit, and where Sword should have just then ended his session in the pit lane, he carried on, put a few more lap times in, and the stewards weren't very happy with that.
No, I mean, he got caught out actually during one of the qualifying segments. There was a brief squall came through, and he was coming up into the first of the chicanes at turn 5, and just simply was the first one on the spot and found the track damp, wasn't wet, just enough to catch him out, went into the gravel trap at turn 5. Did get some marshal assistance to get him back onto the track, at which point really he should have driven into the pits, but he chose to continue. And for that little transgression, he's dropped from 9th in the grid down to 11th, in other words, at the tail of the field. And frankly, Jack, in these conditions, we've had a rain shower come through, track is thoroughly wet again, low ambient temperatures, and the only disadvantage of starting at the back of the grid will be visibility. But over the duration of the hour, anything is possible, and I would not bet against that Sandlock Racing Audi, Mark Sword and Gregory Jouvert coming through and maybe even getting a podium.
Yep, quite possible. Those two performed very strongly in the second qualifying session. Well, Gregory Gilbert, I would say, performed very strongly in the second qualifying session, putting his car up there second on the grid. And there you can see this field of GT3 cars about to get underway. Let's hear from Michael Lyons, shall we? His teammate Stefano Guy is starting on pole position. Michael's with Hayley.
Michael, an inherited pole. Can you turn it into a win?
I think so. We're in a good position with the penalty against the Mercedes, so that should be an advantage. Just have to see the conditions. It will be the same for everyone, so we just have to make the best of what we have.
Thank you.
Of course, GT3 run the rule that the better you perform. It's the equivalent of success ballast, really, but you have to spend longer then in the pit lane. Each of these cars will have a minimum pit lane time, and so because that number 1 car, the Heiko Gravity Charouz Motorsport team Mercedes, is leading the championship, Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch, they're going to have to spend longer in the pits. So we're in this bizarre situation where the back row of the grid for this race is the 2 Scintillating racing cars, and they're going to be the front row of the grid for the race tomorrow, which is fairly interesting. Then we've got this Rhino's Lippert Motorsport car. Leo Machitsky is going to be starting this one before handing over to Natalia Fredina, the young woman driver, and alongside them is going to be Miguel Toril. You can see just there on the right-hand side in that second Russian Bear Ferrari. Let's hear from Maximilian Buch now. His teammate Dominic Baumann starting on the front row of the grid.
Max, the pressure's on. Will Dominic be able to take the lead going into the first corner?
We will see. You cannot practice the start, so I hope you have a good start. After the first corner, we will see more.
Thank you.
Interesting that Dominic Buch, I think there's an element of confidence there, because we have seen over the days here in Zolder, and we did see it a bit in Nagaro a couple of weeks ago, the Ferrari 458s have not worked out as successfully as other manufacturers how to get their car to work well in these wet weather conditions. And the Ferrari in the front row of the grid, Stefano Guy starting, may have the best option, best position to take the start into turn 1, but it's difficult to believe that the Mercedes isn't going to find a way around it fairly quickly, unless Ferrari have come up with a setup that helps that car be more compliant than it's currently been seen to be.
Yeah, in both GT1 and GT3 over the course of these last 2 weeks, we have seen the Ferrari 458 Italias really struggle in these damp conditions. There is the second day, of course, the car. Gaetano Ardagna Perez is going to start that one before handing over to Giuseppe Chiro. Ardagna Perez was running at the top of qualifying for quite a long period of time. He actually got shuffled down into that 6th position, but he's still going to be performing fairly well. So let's hear from our original pole sitter, Cesar Campanico. He'll be starting 3rd on the grid this afternoon.
Original pole sitter, you were given a 3-grid penalty, but can you make it up?
Well, I hope so. Really, it's not so good that we are 3rd because I did the pole position, but with rain conditions everything can happen, and our car was pretty good yesterday in the rain, so I'm confident.
Thank you.
2 7th places for Cesar Campanico in Nagaro, so I think a 3rd place start isn't too bad for them.
No, the other factor which we've seen again over this weekend is when it's been wet at the start, some of the teams have realised that the track in the 1 hour race may well dry out, at which point that, of course, they can't predict, but some have opted to go for a more dry setup, whereas others have gone with a more wet setup. And the way the dice have rolled, it's favoured those that have actually chosen to do the nearer to the dry setup. And while it makes their life difficult in these conditions, these wet conditions at the beginning of the race, assuming that by half distance, or certainly when the pit stop window opens within 25 minutes, that the track might have a sufficiently dry line to take the punt to put on the dry tyres and reap that benefit in combination with a dry car setup.
Well, we saw that in GT1, didn't we, a few hours ago, because there was quite a large gap between when the pit stop window opened, it wasn't really ready for slick tyres, but by the time the pit stop window closed, it was ready for slick tyres. So these things can change quite quickly here at Zolder, and equally, I don't think that rain was of the intensity we saw for GT1 as well, but there's going to be less cars circulating to get the water up.
Fewer cars, and temperatures dropped, the ambience dropped down by 2 degrees, air temperature, track temperature, everything's, we're coming to the back end of the afternoon. It's never been above 10 Celsius, and the track is cold, the surface is cold, and therefore it just takes much longer to dry it out and to get the situation, and whether that will occur before the pit stop window then closes 35 minutes after the start of this race. That's the judgment that teams have got to make, and they're sort of standing out the back of their pits, licking their fingers and saying, well, has my finger fallen off the frostbite yet or not? Oh no, it's not. Actually, we might get away with making a risky setup to the car. This thing of predictability. If life was simple, everybody would be winning. Thank goodness we've got a bit of rain in Zolder here this weekend to give us something to talk about, but also to give these guys a much more difficult job and to make sure we get entertaining motor racing.
So, right at the back of the field is Mark Sword. His teammate is Gregory Gilbert. Let's hear from him. He's down in the pits now.
Greg, starting from the back of the grid, what's the reason for that?
Yeah, because Mark did a mistake. He was on a gravel, and you cannot restart after, and it's why we are last in the grid today.
Best of luck, thank you.
Well, it wasn't because he was in the gravel, it was because they had assistance to get out of the gravel. I mean, people go into gravel, all over the place, and we'll see that no doubt here in this GT3 event, but it's having outside assistance, and therefore you're penalised, and you've got to basically either just park the car where it is, or if you do get back on the circuit, then just drive into the pit lane.
So there's our pole position sitter, Stefano Guy. He's going to be taking the start of this race before handing over to Michael Lyons, and Guy was very, very confident, wasn't he, in qualifying. He was saying, I should have been a second quicker, I should have been this, I should have been that. Now he's got the chance from pole position and to prove that it's not just talk and that he does have the pace to pull away. But as we've already alluded to, that Ferrari 458 Italia is going to be difficult to handle in the wet conditions. And will the Mercedes, which is following the safety car...
Well, I'm due to have a little run on that later on in the day, so we'll just see what Mercedes have got. Of course, as a production road car, it's got all the gizmos and adjustments and that you need for road driving. But it's going to be an interesting race. We've got those two Saint-Loch Racing Audi at the back of the grid. These are the conditions where the car shone in Navarro, and again they've shone here in these conditions again. So expect, maybe not in the initial laps, but watch for progress. Initially from Dumais and then from Mark Sood in the number 16. There it is, the red and silver one. The other is a blue and silver. So both these cars have got things looking favourable in conditions which are not very pleasant.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a tricky race out there. 1 hour long, and then a mandatory pit stop between 25 and 35 minutes into this race. And they will then swap drivers and continue for the race and see who will claim victory. Championship-wise, that number one car you can see on the left-hand side, it's got a black front splitter, by the way, because yesterday Dominic Baumann, I think it was, ended up putting the car in the wall, so they had to take quite a lot of time repairing it. But that is the championship leading car.
But I tell you what, Jack, you should have seen the wall.
There's our second place in the championship. No, I apologise, it's Gregory Gilbert, actually, our man on the very back of the grid. He is second in the championship at the moment, along with Mark Sword. Then, third place, only 7 points off the lead of the championship, is Michael Lyons and Stefano Guy. So a strong result for them today, starting from pole position, could leapfrog them up into the lead of the championship, because their closest rivals, well, the leaders of the championship are alongside them. But as we've said, an hour race around a wet circuit where there's not much margin for error around here, is there? It's not like these new circuits, like, we're heading to Portimao and Navarro, acres of tarmac runoff. It's not the same here at Zolder.
Well, certainly Portimao is a great racetrack, and it is a challenging racetrack. But here in Zolder, it's old school. It's 70s, earlier than 60s, in fact. And there's a certain amount of work you can do there. You see the pit straight, the start-finish line. It's very narrow. There's not a lot of margin. We saw last year contact in the start of the GT1 race, took out some of the Nissans and did damage to others' cars. I love racetracks like this because they've got one thing spelt with a capital C, and that's called character. And there we are, just the view looking up to the descent from the turn 7. A great part of the racetrack, tree-lined, so moisture tends to linger in those areas more than it will in the more exposed parts of the racetrack. Again, something for a driver to bear in mind at the point he might be considering going from a wet tyre to a dry tyre. Is that part of the track sufficiently dry to take the risk? And if you go offline, you're going to find it even wetter. So the online bit, where the trees are really shading the track, is going to be just something that they've got to think about.
Yeah, definitely plenty to think about for these drivers as they wait for the signal to clear the grid. And it looks like that's the 5-minute warning that has just gone out. So this race will get underway at 10 to 5 o'clock local time. A little bit of 5 minutes behind schedule, I think, due to an incident in the Dutch supercar race we had before this one. But you can see the course car heading off to clear the way, and then the leading car, that very good looking, very comfortable Mercedes SLS will lead them off. And you can see how soon the shower was, because underneath that Mercedes SLS was it was absolutely bone dry. So it's since the leading car has parked there, that all this rain came.
Yep, and it came quickly, as we've seen all the showers here through the day. They come like the squalls, they just come in the wind, and now the sky is beginning to lighten a little bit. Probably this is all coming in from the west, I'd imagine, and hopefully we'll not have any more rain. And whatever we're left with, ambient temperature, track temperature, the wind will contribute. We'll wait and see when we get to 25 minutes into this race, when the pit lane opens for that mandatory driver change, whether we will find anybody in a position to change onto a dry set of tyres. It's going to be a big ask, I think, in particular, depending whether it's your bronze, silver or gold star driver that's in the car at this moment, and that's going to also mix and match the whole equation as we come down to the countdown formation lap, about to get underway very shortly.
Yep, so there are the slick tyres definitely being removed from the grid for this moment in time. A decent crowd have stayed on after the GT1 qualifying race here at Zolder to check out the action in FIA GT3, and I think we've got a historic race for the crowd to end the day before we do it all again tomorrow. So let's hear from Dino Lunardi. He was absolutely rapid in second qualifying, but his teammate starts in 9th.
Dino, you had such a great start to the season, but both of you starting from the back of the grid.
Yeah, we start on the back of the grid, but with the track condition and the wet condition, it's maybe not so bad, because everything can happen during the first lap and on the first corner, and we expect maybe to put the slick tires during the driving change, and we will see, but I think it will be very tricky and very interesting.
Thank you.
He could be a TV commentator with that kind of observations, couldn't he? You know, he's sort of, I wonder where he got the idea from. It might dry out just by the pit stop window being open, but you know, that's experience. There we see the Segway, one of our television cameramen on that Segway machine, and Mike Hawkins does a brilliant job. There we have the view of the Ferrari on the front row of the grid. That's the car that's currently in, well, it is pole position, having earned it after the Audi of Team Nova driver was penalised. So Stefano Guy on board that car, and that Ferrari will very quickly be making its way down into turn 1 on the formation lap. The drivers will get a further indication if any change has taken place in the moments that they've been sitting on the grid waiting for this event to get underway. So all to play for, and Stefano Guy and Dominic Baumann in the Mercedes. There we see the front row sitting Mercedes. I think it's going to take a lot of effort from the Ferrari to stop the squirt of the Mercedes from gaining the advantage into turn 1, particularly under braking, where you'll know whether you've got any grip or not very quickly.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that. It's going to be a real challenge for Stefano Guy. Dominic Baumann, of course, did FIA GT3 last year, finished 4th in the championship, took a win in Slovakia. So he certainly knows how to pilot a car to victory, because he did it 2 weeks ago, I should say, anyway, in Nogaro as well, with a 3rd and a 1st with him and Maximilian Buch. So the grid is cleared, the formation lap about to get underway here at Zolder, and this 11 car field, although there's still a mechanic hanging around that Scintillating Racing Audi, Jerome Demey and Dino Lunardi. They need to clear the car quickly, because can get penalised if you're hanging around your car doing bits with it for too long, and if the mechanics haven't cleared the grid in time, then there can be a penalty awaiting, but hopefully that won't be the case, as the leading car, the Mercedes safety car, gets ready to lead a Ferrari and a Mercedes away. Second row is Audi and Lamborghini. The 3rd row we've got another Mercedes and Ferrari, so actually it's pretty much a repeat. The teammates on the 1st row are the teammates on the 2nd row, on the 3rd row I should say, but in a slightly different order. Formation lap then gets underway, lots of squirreling from the rear end, even on the start. Yeah,
and I noticed the Audi that's currently in 3rd place, as they released the clutch at the back end of the car, stepped sideways. So again, just to emphasise track conditions, are wet. Everybody's on wet weather tyres, ambient temperature low, track temperature low. So while it is a rolling start and the prospect of getting sideways under acceleration is very much reduced, nevertheless it's indicative of just how slippery it is out there right now.
So there you can see how dark it is as well, can't you, round the far side of the circuit as the light begins to fade here at Zolder. And this Belgian circuit has played host to many great races over the years. Hopefully this one will be entertaining.
One of the most entertaining sights I've enjoyed at Zolder is that the cars come out of turn 3 and the run down to turn 4, running parallel to the racetrack, is one of the major canals that makes its way through this part of Belgium. And to see a canal barge cruising down the canal and a race car or race cars, it's just one of those, it's a bit like in Canada at Montreal, the Grand Prix there. There's it's like an aqueduct that runs parallel to the back straight at Montreal, and a great sight it is too.
It was the Olympic rowing lake or something.
Well, the lake is one part of it, but beyond the other side of the lake is the you like to call it the waterway for the St. Lawrence River. The St. Lawrence River itself is unnavigable, it's not deep enough, so they've built a canal parallel to the racetrack and to the rowing lake, and you get massive, freighters coming up and down it, and you think it's slightly odd to see that on, Grand Prix car, or here in Belgium GT cars with these things going up and down the canals.
So the two Science-Lock Racing Audis definitely ones to keep an eye on. They just didn't really hook up qualifying. I think they've got the pace in the cars unquestionably, because qualifying 2 they were first and second, but we had a dry start to the first qualifying session, then it rained a bit, everyone got a bit scared and came back into the pits thinking it wasn't really going to work out for them, but then it dried up enough for them to go out and have another bash at it. So it was a bit hit and miss really, that first qualifying session this morning. Hopefully for Stefano Guy this start won't be hit and miss. He's hoping to nail it first time and hold the lead as he comes into turn 1. They're lining up now in 2x2 formation. We saw a jump start from Peter Cox in the GT1 race. We've got one is the final idea. In fact, it's the Marc Soud Gregory Jouvet car, quite a long way back, and ideally the grid should be much more compacted as they come up to the start of this race. So we wait for the lights to go out here at Zolder. The third round of the championship is underway, and Guy has got a decent start actually. He's going to hold the inside line on the run down into turn 1. They're all starting to fan out behind, but it's Guy who gets in the lead. Up into second place has gone the Audi, trying to go all the way around the outside, and a spin for the 50 car. Adagna Perez has spun on the exit of turn 1. Looked like he did it all by himself, I think. I think that was just lack of grip, maybe a little bit too much throttle, just destabilised the car. But it's the Ferrari of Stefano Guy who's consolidated, and the Mercedes, who I thought might have been a real challenger, has been squeezed out by the third place starting Audi of Cesar Campagno. So down they come towards turn 5, and Campanico is desperate to regain the position that he presumably felt was wrongly taken away from him. And remember, we think that the Audi in these conditions is probably the more compliant of those cars. Certainly Campanico pushing hard on the exit, the Mercedes following, and then the first of the Lamborghinis running fourth. So into the section at the end of, the halfway through the circuit, I should say, 8, 9 and 10. Let's see how those two Audis are progressing. They've already made up 2 positions, although one of them was Ardagna Perez, who of course spun. He's recovered very well actually, considering he did a full 360. He's right on the back of the pack already. But up at the front, Cesar Campanico is going to be putting Stefano Guy under some serious pressure already in this race. Dominic Baumann doesn't look like he can live with them at this moment in time, but the track conditions, even if it doesn't go fully dry, the track conditions are going to evolve. It is going to get drier, and that might suit some cars. It's a question of whether it happens slowly or more slowly, and whether it'll be sufficiently dry at the point when the pit stop opens up. And Stefano Guy has done a good job in the opening lap to consolidate that pole position, the one that he was actually gifted, and maintain the lead from Campanico in the Audi, who probably is the quicker of the 2 cars if they were able to run in clear air. The 2 center-lock Audis themselves now racing, diving down the inside, and that Gregory Joubert taking the position away from his teammate. Yep, so that means that moving up is That's Marc Saud, isn't it? Yes, so Marc Saud has got past Jerome Demey, and now Jerome Demey is going to come under pressure from Ardagna Perez in towards turn 4. The AF Corsa team looking on as their man dives up the inside and makes it past Jerome Demey for 8th position, I think that is now. Possibly 9th, actually, I apologise. As they come down towards the first chicane, there's one of the Russian Bear Motorsport machines. Miguel Torrell is starting that one. But at the moment, Stefano Guy is pulling away just a little bit up at the front, starting to extend his advantage.
And this, in these conditions, is the best showing we've seen from the Ferrari 458. Normally we've seen them dropping back and being very nervous, very twitchy under throttle. But certainly right now, Stefano Guy has got a handle on that Ferrari and is consolidating. And well, he's got a gap of just over half a second, but we'll see what it is when they come across the line to complete lap 2.
It's Harry Projek. He's currently lying in 4th position. Then 5th is Max Nielsen, and 6th is Leo Machitsky. Under braking for the final hairpin.
Yeah, the Lamborghini's dropping away from the front 3. Projek is just unable to maintain the pace of that lead trio, and Stefano Guy is going well. He's picked up another half second on that lap to make it just over the second advantage to the second place. Audi of Campigno.
Yep. Third place then is still Dominic Baumann. It's very murky down there, isn't it, with all the spray? And it has started raining again. Jerome Demey is off in the gravel. That's over. That's over. Is that the final corner? It's into the final chicane.
No, I think that might be into turn 2. It's so difficult to tell.
Yeah, but it's a nondescript gravel trap down there.
It could be down
and it is the last
12.
corner. It is the last corner, apparently.
Okay.
We're being told. And well, that may be because the rain has returned. You can just about see it looking out over the pit lane, so that could affect things as they climb the hill now down through turn 7. And I think that gap has come down a little bit. It was 1 second between first and second. I'd say it's just a shade under 1 at the moment, and all of a sudden now the rain is coming down a little bit more. Stefano Guy doesn't seem quite as comfortable, but I'm expecting to see the gaps ebb and flow quite a lot in these conditions.
Yeah, there was rain coming in. We could see it coming from the turn 2, turn 3, 4, and they've all closed up the gap that had been built up briefly by the lead car. And now this is the Mercedes challenging the Audi, running very wide in the exit of turn 12, losing that momentum off the corner. Yeah, he waved yellow flag up at turn 15, 16, where that Audi is somewhere in the gravel. Hopefully it now retrieved by the marshals, but that's the end of its run.
Out onto the start-finish straight then, and the top 3, they were on the end of the last lap, separated by 2 seconds. They're now only separated by 1.4, so the gaps have come down. The quickest man on that last lap was Dominic Baumann. Still not as quick as Stefano Guy's lap time, so it's quite interesting. The lap times have dropped off a second in that last lap, just with that little splash of rain we had, and well, it's still drizzling, but nothing to really affect it too much. And Baumann set the fastest first and middle sections on that last lap.
You can see the Mercedes closed up to the Audi quite significantly, but as we've talked about in the GT1 race, getting up to a car and then stalling out under the momentum of the car that you've been chasing is again letting that Ferrari marginally, well, it was 0.7 of a second between first and second when they came across the line, but now it's the Audi that's really under pressure from Baumann in the Mercedes, up over the top of the hill, then down through turn 7, flat out, but you've got to get off the throttle pretty quickly to slow the car down for this, the Villeneuve chicane, the right, the left, don't use too much of the curb on the inside, and then the exit out through turn 10, the back end of the Mercedes momentarily having to be controlled.
Then through this back sequence of corners, through turn 11, and then dropping down the hill into turn 12, and Baumann is looking pretty racy. The Mercedes not quite as nimble through these chicanes as some of the other cars. You can quite visibly see it, but it is strong through the medium to slow speed corners. Michael Lyons watching on as his teammate continues to lead this race, and lots of opposite lock from Dominic Baumann under braking for that final corner. Is he going to be able to launch an attack? Because I think he needs to get past fairly soon, otherwise Stefano Guy is going to begin to disappear up the road a little bit. 0.6 of a second between second and third.
Yeah, I mean, the gap in effect is the same as it's been since the opening lap of this race. It's fluctuated between a second and 0.8 of a second. Where it is right now, there you can see how the Mercedes has been eating into the second place Audi's position, just under a tenth of a second, then just over a tenth, and almost 2/10 on lap 2. So it's what you expect when cars are getting close, and even more difficult in these conditions, where you can't really take a chance to make a lunge down the inside, because if it does go wrong, it'll be out of the race. If somebody goes into the gravel trap, say for example coming up here into turn 5, the prospect of getting out of that unassisted is not very great.
As the number 15 car has found out, Jerome Demey retiring from this race after a spin on only, I think it was the opening lap actually, wasn't it? Jerome Demey span out, so not good news for him. He will, his teammate Dino Lunardi will start tomorrow's race from pole position, so every cloud has a silver lining. Once again, Dominic Baumann fast in Sector 1, fastest of anyone so far. Took 0.3 of a second out of Stefano Guy in Sector 1 alone, so he's very much on it, Baumann, but whether he can make a move or not is another question. The 4 car of Toril is into the pit lane.
No.
Miguel Toril, they don't look like there's any particular problem.
Well, there's bits of bodywork. No, that car been towed back in. Now, where did that go? We didn't see that being towed back in. But that car clearly has had a tow back into the pits. Wonder, was that involved in any way with the Demey incident that we saw a little earlier? So that Ferrari is not going any further this afternoon. Now the Audi looking to make a move on the Ferrari, coming down pit straight but not close enough. The gap down to just under half a second, so the time did reduce. And once again, Campanitico is putting pressure on that lead Ferrari.
So, across the line comes Toril. So that must have been one of the GT1 cars, actually. They look very similar, don't they? The Russian Bear cars, the AF Corsa cars, and the GT1 AF Corsa machine. So, apologies for that. Miguel Toril still in the race in 7th position.
Those cars, of course, have just been released from Parc Ferme, so that's why I was in the pit lane. I've no idea. But anyway, there we are. We've clarified the situation. As we look at the other Sunlock car, which currently
8th place.
8th place for Marc Soord.
I think he would have hoped to have climbed a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, his lap time last lap was 1:46 compared to a 44, which we're seeing from the lead Ferrari, not this Ferrari. This is one of the Russia entered Ferraris as it makes its way down through turn 7, the Russian Bear Motorsport, to give it its correct title.
Yep, and that is Miguel Toril, as we said a moment ago, currently running in 7th position. Dagna Perez is starting his climb back up. He's 2.5 seconds behind Marc Soord, in front of him, so whether he can close that in or not before the time the pit stop window comes, we will wait and see. Personal best, best of anyone in sectors 1 and 2 for Dominic Baumann again. So even though he's in the traffic, he's still managing to put in the lap times, which is pretty impressive. But how close is he to our race leader? They flash across the line now, and they're all pretty much together as we continue to watch Marc Soord have a little look up the inside of Miguel Toril. How quickly has Soord been closing in? Well, we said he lost half a second to Toril on that previous lap, but he seems to have found it once more. And they're starting to go offline to find the dry parts of the racetrack, and the sun has come out again, so
they're looking for the wet bits to keep the wet weather tires.
Sorry, wet.
I mean, if they're looking for the dry bits, they'll be looking in vain. They want to keep the wet weather tire as wet as it possibly can, but inevitably what will happen on parts of the track is Dominic Bauer looks to move up with the inside into turn 5. Wow, you can't get any closer than that. And how they didn't make contact is a pure miracle.
Yes, that was very close. A little bit half-hearted from Baumann. It looked like he looked up the inside and thought, probably shouldn't be doing this.
The trouble is,
get it stopped in time.
Driving an SLS Mercedes-Benz just sits so far back in the car that to know where the nose of that car is in relation to where you're sitting is a bit of a feat of faith.
Well, they need one of the... well, here's a look at the replay. Look, he half looks up the inside, and I think he's trying to back out of it there, just to... but that was very close to contact. What they need is the little Mercedes logo on the front of the bonnet, like the road cars do. That's how you can tell where the front is in the road car.
Well, I mean, I sat in the course car that they have here this weekend, and you are a long way from the front of the car.
down into the final chicane. Oh, big slide from Stefano Guy. Just held it, didn't he?
Yeah, but he put his right wheels on that painted line. And in these conditions, you don't do that under braking because it will make the car move, and that's what we saw. In fact, Stefano Guy, in spite of that, got the fastest sector time in that in the middle sector. In fact, so it's the first time we've seen the Ferrari come purple in one of the 3 sectors. So he's getting on with the program again. The car moving around on a sort of indication that there's a line appearing, but the Ferrari moving around. Let's look again. Watch the car moving across to the left, gets it on. In fact, he got the rear wheel.
Yeah.
I don't think it was actually on the grass, but it was partly off track. The grass is a little bit lower than the level of the line. Nevertheless, painted line is always going to be slipperier than the tarmac.
So Stefano Guy leads. Second place is the Audi of Cesar Campanico. Third place we have Dominic Baumann. The top 3 in this race separated by just 1.3 seconds as Baumann hacksaws his way through the chicane at turns 5 and 6. And he's going to get more and more frustrated because he's starting to see Guy edge clear. Fastest first sector of anyone, though, comes from 4th place man Harry Prochik. We haven't really seen much from Prochik, considering he appears to have the pace. We've also seen a fast first sector from Vyacheslav Maliv down in 10th position.
So these are real spikes. We're not expecting it. This is the lead group of cars. You expect them to be the quickest cars on the track, but because in effect the running is one, the lap time and the sector times are going to be governed very much by the lead car, where those that are running free of other people are capable of maybe putting in a time which comes rather unexpectedly.
So Guy giving it quite a... he did the same thing.
Mistake, and he could be in the gravel trap because that was a serious flick of the rear of the car and he got it recovered, but you know, he should not be putting that car anywhere near the white line or the grass to its right.
Yep, he lost some 7/10 of a second on that last lap. So if anything, it's going to be Cesar Campanico who's going to be launching the attack on Stefano Guy. The only positive that Baumann might be able to bring out of that is it'll drop him back a little bit, maybe give him a little bit of momentum to get up to the back. But let's hear from Baumann's teammate, actually. Maximilian Buch is down in the pit lane. He's talking to Haley.
Dominic's fighting hard to get his way through to the traffic and take the lead.
Yeah, but we have a good pace. I think we can stay on 3rd position, but we have to see. We are 15 seconds longer in the box, but it's difficult when the sun is coming out if the track is turning up, but should be okay.
Thank you.
Well, after that mistake, Baumann took 7/10 of a second out of the leaders in the first sector alone, and the first sector only goes up to the end of turn 4, so that's very impressive indeed. He's got the pace.
Yeah, it's not just the pace, it just illustrates what happens when cars get close together. The whole momentum disappears, and if you can't use that advantage and sweep past, you've got to use your strength against the other car, and the longer you dwell behind, the more the driver you're trying to pass feels confident that you can't actually get the pass made. So in the case of Campanico, he's probably not overly worried about Baumann being behind him, because Baumann's given it his best shot and he's still not in position to be able to challenge the Audi for 2nd place.
I think we may see a new fastest lap of the race, though, this time around from Dominic Baumann. He went purple in sector 1, personal best in sector 2. The best at the moment is a 43.5. Baumann comes across the line to do a 43.252, and the top 3 are separated now by only 0.8 of a second. So this is really closing up at the front of this FIA GT3 European Championship race. Here's the battle between Prochik and Max Nielsen. They're only separated by it's gone out now to 1.5 seconds. It was half a second the last time they crossed the line. Then we've got the number 12 machine behind, and is this Baumann looking up the inside? It is into turn 4. Not going to be quite close enough to get the overlap, but that was a brave move from Baumann. Is he going to send it up the inside, down into the chicane? I don't know if he's going to be close enough. He knows he's stronger on the brakes, but no, there was... Again, Campanico was able to defend and put his car on the bit of racetrack that the Mercedes was looking for, but that situation was now being dictated by the Ferrari, because the Ferrari had fallen back into the clutches of the Audi, chased by the Mercedes, and now that we're down into turns 9, 10 and 11, Ferrari sort of regained its composure, opened up again a fraction of a second advantage over the Audi, and it's the pressure coming from Dominic Baumann onto Campanico and the Audi that's going to be really the interesting part
43 minutes of this race remaining, and very well. And then within the next 7-8 minutes, the pit lane will be open.
Look at that! Look how much time Guy has lost. He almost looked like he had a comfortable advantage, but Baumann and Campanico have closed him right in. Slippery surface flag. I wonder if I'm not quite sure what that would be for, because they won't just hold it out. They'll hold it out if rain's coming down, but there's no rain coming down at the moment as the three cars exit onto the start-finish straight. 0.8 of a second between them. Last time the three crossed the line is now 7.5 of a second, so it all begins to close up just a little bit more.
I think Dominic Baumann's best shot is going to be when he's looking to come up and dive down the inside into turn 2. Can he get the Mercedes into position? He's got it. Well, he wimped out of that one. I think he could have been a bit more forceful and planted that, Swabian Mercedes-Benz, the pride of Untertürkheim, and again into turn 4. Had he not made the move into turn 2, possibly turn 4 would have been achievable, but he compromised his own entry into turn 2. Consequently, he didn't have the momentum out into turn 4.
Thought about going for it into the chicane as well, but Campanico closed that line. Is there going to be contact there? These two are battling hard, but very, very fairly. It's brilliant to watch as they climb the hill, descend through turn 7. Again, it plays into the hands of Stefano Guy. There's gravel on the track at turn 16. That's why the slippery surface flags were out.
Good. So we're going to say Ingolstadt white on the silver of Stuttgart. Here we go, down again, down the outside on the approach into the left-hand turn 5. Was there paint exchanged? I don't think there's going to be any insurance claim in that one, do you?
No, I don't think so.
Might exchange addresses and stuff like that, but no claims.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get insurance companies involved with an incident like that. Down into we'll wait until you drive the course car, then there might be some insurance issues. Down into the final chicane, turns 15 and 16 again. Harry Procik, very quick in sector 1, a 32.8. That's some 0.6 of a second quicker than these guys up at the front, but he can't seem to repeat it in the rest of the lap at the moment as they come across the line still. The gap is now up to 0.9 of a second, so it doesn't matter how much these second and third place men battle. As soon as they start concentrating again, they reel in Stefano Guy with ease.
Yeah, I mean, they just literally throw out the anchor and hook it onto the back of that Ferrari, and they reel themselves in. But they're finding it very difficult to do more than that. And the Mercedes, which clearly is the quickest of those three cars, this is the second of the two Mercedes running down in 5th place, Nielsen behind the wheel, can do nothing about it. There we see out of turn 4 the climb uphill. Now Baumann, is he going to have a sniff down the inside? Audi covers it as best it can, but again Mercedes, just caution is the better part of valor in that instance, doesn't want to make an incident that could be seen as an avoidable accident, which would then see the Mercedes being penalised for that incident.
Well, we saw Philippe Sledecka penalised for causing an avoidable incident in big slide from the Audi, but yeah, we saw Philippe Sledecka penalised for causing an avoidable incident in Nogaro.
But he's from Slovakia, isn't he? He probably didn't see it that way.
Probably not. Down into turn 12 and off his mark sword. Where is that? Looks like the exit of turn 1 would be my guess, but we'll wait and find.
It is spot on. Well done. That's a good spot, that man. Exit of turn 1.
He's just dropped it, I presume.
I think he's just about been. Well, he may have been pretty much on his own. He certainly is now. And what a contrast to what we'll see in tomorrow's race when those two.
And here's the two for the race lead around the outside. Tries to go Cesar Campanico. He's almost got alongside, but now that's the chance Dominic Baumann needs, and he moves up into that second position. So Baumann up into second place. There must have been a mistake from the Ferrari down at the chicane to allow the Audi to get up alongside. Apparently he was just all out of shape coming through the chicane. Audi went for it. Merck took its chance.
Well, that's all you need. When you're in a race like this, it's not about you making the move, it's about somebody else giving you the opportunity, because they've made a small error, and that's all it took for Dominic Baumann to get past Campanico and the Audi. Now, having got past his bête noire in the shape of the Audi, can he move on with this momentum and tackle the lead Ferrari? Stefano Guy, defence up into turn 5 once again, and the Merc breathing all over and under the rear wing as they bounce and hop over the curbs into 5 and out over 6.
Here's a look at the replay then. So
he's way away. Yeah, he overran into turn 15, and that was where the Audi got the momentum. But Audi on the outside, and the Ferrari forcing it even wider over the curb,
yeah.
losing traction. The Mercedes sees all this. Campanico's boxed in effect by the Mercedes and to a lesser degree by the Ferrari, and job done to the Mercedes.
So the AF Corsa squad now looking a little bit more concerned, because I think that that Mercedes is the quickest car on the circuit.
And it's clearly the car that's going to give Stefano Guy a harder time than Campanico was doing, and coming up through turns 13 or 14 onto the back straight. The Mercedes looking one way, then the other way. Again, the Ferrari in the middle of the road going defensive. Drop the Mercedes back fractionally, then get the run off and acceleration. Can you get the Mercedes up alongside the Ferrari, or think about a move down the inside into turn 1?
He's right in the slipstream as they come under the bridge. Stefano Guy holding the inside line. That's also going to help him a little bit to keep the cool on his tyres. Bauman's having a think about going all the way around the outside of turn 1. He's going to run out of room, just given enough. Holds it in there, but that was a brave little move from Bauman. It didn't quite work out though.
Wouldn't have been my move if I'd been in the car. I'd been looking to go the other way, go up the inside and try and get the overlap to go into turn 2. But, you know, in the commentary booth, we can all be, you know, experts.
Even I can be an expert in the commentary booth. Here we go, down into turns 5 and 6, the chicane. Again, Stefano Guy going defensive. Bauman trying to send him a little dummy, try and put him off. It's not working out. Oh, he really takes those curves, doesn't he?
And Bauman sort of almost got out of it because he wasn't quite sure if the Ferrari was going to make it through. But you have to say the Ferrari's squirt in a straight line is certainly enabling Stefano Guy to keep that Ferrari in the lead of this race. But you sense that there's a lot of pressure on the young Italian driver right now as the Mercedes once again moving towards the back of the Ferrari as we look into the Ferrari pit. And a little bit of tension, I think, the observation there.
The pit lane opens in 1 minute's time, and I don't think it's dry enough yet for slicks.
Well, that very question. You can see there's a dry-ish line on certain parts of the racetrack, but overall the racetrack is not, in my view. Now we see up into fifth.
Look at that, it was completely, I mean, that's all 4 wheels over the white line.
That was effectively as far offline as you could get to hop, skip and jump. So we've got 43 seconds before the pit lane that will be open at the end of this lap, and drivers looking to the damper parts of the racetrack. In reality, you toss the coin and say, what I'm going to gamble is not at what point the track will have a drying line, but will it rain again? That's the gamble.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to put a set of slicks on, and if they do and it doesn't rain, they'll win this race. But if it rains again, you'll look like a zero.
So here comes Dominic Bauman on the attack once more, up the inside into turn 4, thinks about it, not close enough. And his neck, of course, as we mentioned earlier, they will have to have a longer pit stop than their rivals, 15 seconds longer as we heard, because they are the race winners from the previous round. So they need to get past and build an advantage. That Ferrari is pushing its luck, I think, with the amount of track it's taking down there at the chicane. Over the crest, down through turn 7, into 8, 9 and 10. And I was expecting that he's
a bit messy. He was too quick into turn 9, compromised through 10. There is a set of slicks. Is that on a Ferrari set of rims, or I think those are Ferrari rims?
So that is going to be for Stefano Guy. Mercedes are going for slicks as well, but of course the Mercedes will have longer to wait in the pit lane. Here come our race leaders. Are they going to come in this time, or are they going to stay out for a little bit longer? Stefano Guy and Michael Lyons are both silver ranked drivers, and Dominic Bauman and Maximilian Buch are both silver ranked as well, so there's not necessarily one stronger driver than the other.
If you're going to go into a set of dry slick tyres, you've got to stay out until the last minute of this pit window being open, because if you come in now at the earliest opportunity, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage. So stay out, and then you've got now what, you've got 7 minutes or 15 seconds of that minute remaining. Stay out, get another 3 laps in on these tyres, by which time when you do come in, the track will be more acceptable to a set of slicks.
Now Stefano Guy has just done the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 42.867, and he's now edged clear of second place man Dominic Bauman to the tune of 0.8 of a second. So I don't know where he suddenly found that lap time from.
But your mate Harry Project in the Lamborghini in 4th place, again quickest in that first sector. Again, what's the Ferrari? I mean, it's taking liberties going through turn 5. That is going to come under observation. Whether there'll be anything done about it, there may just be a warning to the team to advise the driver not to drive the line that he's currently taking. He won't be in the car that much longer, but you can see how much of a struggle it is with the Mercedes really pushing hard in turn 9 and 10.
Into the pits comes Václav Maliv, and he is going to hand over to Kirill Ladygin. Ladygin, who has raced in the World Touring Cars in the past few seasons, one of the strong Russian young talents.
I'm not quite sure if he was ready for the pit stop. He was certainly, you could see the driver out of the car sort of twiddling his thumbs. Where's my, here we go, is there going to be a move for the lead of this race coming out of turn 14? No, and Ferrari stays out, I bet, and the Mercedes stays out. Yes, they both do.
But almost a little bit of a nudge there from Dominic Baumann as they turn out of the final corner. He's got a good run, hasn't he? So Guy's going to have to go defensive and cover the inside line. What's Baumann going to do? Is he going to try and send one to the outside once again? They're all coming up onto the back of Mark's sword as well, though, aren't they? That could be fun.
Yes, indeed. Now watch Baumann. That's just where the undercut. Can he get alongside into turn 2? He's trying to do. Oh! He didn't hit the Ferrari. No, he didn't. The Ferrari just got sideways, out of shape. Now the momentum's gone to the Mercedes. But again, Stefano Guy able to have enough of a margin just to get the nose back, tucked into the apex, and preclude the Mercedes getting through.
This is important for Stefano Guy, because if he can keep the Mercedes behind with the 15-second penalty that the Mercedes have to take in the pit lane, that could well prove key. Mark's sword up in front then. Hopefully he will, being the experienced racer that he is, move out of the way. The back end is sliding, and he's got no chance of keeping that on the road at the moment, Stefano Guy. Baumann sends it to the outside through turn 7. That's a bit of a brave move. Now into the hairpin at 5 and 6. Look how much curb the Ferrari takes through that left-hander as well.
Something came off, whether that was on the racetrack or that's part of the Ferrari, whether there had been contact between the Mercedes and the Ferrari a few corners earlier, but something certainly came off. But Stefano Guy doing everything he can. Of course, he's got the Audi ahead of him. He's going to go a lap down. And Mark Sood, in reality, should make every effort to get out of the way of this lead 2-car battle. Campanico has dropped back a little bit further, 2.2 seconds.
So here's Stefano Guy, who has been given a warning flag, the black and white driving standards flag for not respecting track limits. Mercedes in, so they're going to have to spend 15 seconds longer in the pit stops than their rivals, but they're going to be going on to slicks first, just to try and get into clear air.
Good call, because Ferrari are now going to be, let's say, for the next bit of the lap, delayed by the Audis got out of the way now, so Stefano Guy didn't really suffer too much. Mercedes taking the opportunity to get out of this battle. They knew that this was a move that may be the winning move. Wait and see. Driver one out.
No tyre change.
I can't believe they're not putting a set of slicks on that car. Certainly they had the tyres out on the pit wall to decide if they had wets or dries, but that they decided. Look, we'll go back to Nogaro 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We thought that some drivers should go to slicks. We said others, no, they're going to stay. The Audi stayed on the wet weather tyres. It was only
this
car.
that went to slicks.
Yeah, they went, but it only came to them at the very last lap.
There's no badge on the front of that car, because that's what fell off, John. He turns in and just taps the back of the Ferrari there, and off comes the 3-point start.
Yeah, well, that's about a 50 quid. I know, maybe, I beg your pardon, sorry, Mercedes-Benz 500 quid item. You know, those don't come cheap from authorised Mercedes dealers. You might get a third world one somewhere down in the back end of Brussels, but if you want to get the right one on it, and we can hear the Mercedes as it's about to leave the pits, and they go onto the limiter, and it sounds awful, but very effective when it comes to getting on the track.
So second place man Cesar Campanico there has dropped behind Stefano Guy, which is quite surprising, as fastest first sector time of anyone. I'll give you 2 guesses. It's Harry Prochik who has taken it. The Guy is staying out there then.
So there was no tyre change on that Mercedes-Benz.
No, so maybe that was... They still had to stay in the pit lane for the same amount of time, so they must just be happier with how these tyres are performing. As we can see, BRDC rising star Michael Lyons anticipating when the 51 car of Stefano Guy is going to come in and presumably change to slick tyres, because he's really struggling at the moment, isn't he, Guy? You'd think if they were going to leave him on the same tyres, or they would have changed him to wets, they'd have brought him in as soon as possible.
Let's see what they do with this sister car. Nielsen comes in. Does it go back to the lead car? They've about just just over 3 minutes remaining before this pit window closes. So the
change.
Ferrari will be coming in possibly at the end of this lap. If not, then it will most certainly be coming in at the end of the next lap.
Now that's a little bit better from the 51 car. He's respecting the track limits considerably more than he was a few laps ago when he had the Mercedes all over the back of him. He was doing it here too, down into this left-hander. He's still pushing it, but
that's
he's
acceptable.
just about to getting away with it.
Yeah, if he's not running over those little sort of bumps you see just on the inside of the corner where the green paint is. So that's acceptable. It was turn 5 that he was getting himself into observation from the stewards.
So there is Michael Lyons. Looks like he's that's probably ready for slicks, isn't it? I think. I wouldn't be surprised if AF Corse, it's a bit touch and go, but will AF Corse pit this time? They do. And is it going to be for slick tyres? And if so, how far ahead is he going to come in? The Nova driver comes in as well. Cesar Campanico, he'll hand over to Nii Amorim. But into the pits comes the AF Corse car. And the squad are ready down there in the pit lane to get this pit stop sorted as quickly as possible. Will there be a tyre change? That's going to be the key question.
Well, anybody who's going to take the gamble on going on slicks, it's difficult to put either your well done Stefano, you did a great job, but you just snooker bowl the pit board about 3 pits down the lane.
So they're going to stick with their wet tyres as well. So it doesn't look as though anyone really has taken the gamble to move on to slick tyres. There's a team I can see just out of the window who are ready with some slicks. I'm not sure which team that is. That's the Mercedes squad actually. So that's quite interesting. But at the moment, all the cars staying out there on their old wet tyres.
I think that most people feel that okay, there is a drying line, but there's probably sufficient moisture within the track still to enable them to run on these. And these are very durable wet weather tyres. There you can see on the exit of turn 12 there is a clear dry line, but the majority of the racetrack is still very slippery.
The Nova driver car just went past Michael Lyons in the pit stop, so out first will come Nii Amorim, then it will be Michael Lyons, but where is the number 1 machine? Now in the hands of Maximilian Buch. He's just coming over the start line now. There he is. So Maximilian Buch is going to come out in 3rd position, as we expected, because he had to spend longer in the pits. But what kind of pace is he going to have?
Need to be very careful the way the Ferrari exited the pits. Michael Lyons came perilously close to that line. There is the now what in effect will it be 3rd or not?
Possibly 4th. I think he's going to be behind that 11 Lamborghini.
I think
as well.
it is, and that Lamborghini is the car that's been setting those stunning first sector times.
And that was almost a challenge on, wasn't it?
Was.
For the lead, and Michael Lyons is through. He's back past, so Michael Lyons regains the lead ahead of Nii Amorim now in the 14 Nova driver Audi. So Michael Lyons, as I say, back into the lead of this race.
Well, Michael certainly earning the support of the BRDC and the Rising Stars, getting the job done at the earliest opportunity. He needed to do that rather than getting bogged down behind the Audi, and now pulling away relatively comfortably. And this is first flying lap since the driver change.
Ferrari leads. We've got Audi 2nd, 3rd place at the moment is Lamborghini. We may have Ferrari in 4th, although I think Maximilian Buch will have come out ahead actually of Sergei Ryabov in the number 4 Russian Bear Motorsports. And in fact, look at that, there's Maximilian Buch already about to have an attack on the 11 Rhinos Leipert Motorsport car, now in the hands of David Mengsdorf. And here you can see the side-by-side that we just briefly saw, but this is how it happened. And
yeah, I mean, Michael Lyons was a bunch quicker coming out of turn 4, and I mean, it was a no-brainer. He was just simply miles an hour quicker. The Audi could do nothing about it, and Michael Lyons took that place, taking a very wide sweep on the entry into the corner, trying to maybe stay off the what you might describe as traditional racing line. And when race tracks are in this transitional form, the racing line may not necessarily always represent the fastest line. So going the slightly longer way around where it is damper, you do pick up more grip, ironically.
Yep. Stefano Guy in conversation. There's the 12 Lamborghini of Natalia Fradina. And then this is the battle over third position then. Maximilian Buch has closed into the back of David Mengsdorf, the German driver, as they crest the hill down through turn 7. And then into 5 and 6 they're starting. Well, they've already caught Nii Amorim actually, so it's a three-way train for second position.
Nii Amorim's just being swamped by these two cars, clearly not able to run at the pace of the Ferrari and Michael Lyons, and falling back and about to be swallowed up by Lamborghinis one side, Lamborghinis both sides. The second of those Lamborghinis is not in contention. Number 11 has just gone all the way round, the long way round, and how long will it take for Buch in the Mercedes-Benz to add more pain?
Well, the blue flag was just waved actually at the wrong Lamborghini there, so I hope that doesn't confuse poor David Mengsdorf. But into the left-hander they come. Nii Amorim struggling to really find any grip. I mean, we can see the Nova driver pit stop. There is a chance that they, well no, he's going to the wet line, so he probably didn't change to slick tyres. Fastest lap of the race that last time was the number 2 car of Max Nielsen in 5th position. You could just about see him, and here's the move. Nii Amorim about to be overtaken by Maximilian Buch into turn 2. Easy as you like.
Classic overtake, good run out of turn 1. Got the momentum, shoved the nose of the Mercedes up the inside into turn 2. Nii Amorim knew that there was no way he could defend it, and he just said, look, I've given it up.
So, can this number 1 car get back to the front of the field? Let's hear from Dominic Baumann.
Dominic, you may have left the badge on the car, but you're certainly keeping a firm grip on the championship.
Yeah, I'm really lucky with the car. I think the badge is not the biggest problem today. Yeah, now we are 4th. I hope we can do some more places because we had the penalty from the last race with the 15 seconds. But the feeling is good, and Maxi will do it okay, I think.
Thank you.
Well, if you look out of the window, you'll see that you're 3rd actually now, Dominic. There is the number 1 machine.
And it's Giuseppe Giro in Ferrari number 50, suddenly lighting the track up fastest in 1st and 3rd sectors. But that car all the way down in 7th place, some 22 seconds behind 6th place, so that's going to be a lonely drive. At least it'll be a virtuoso drive.
Definitely the fastest lap of the race for Giuseppe Giro. Here's a replay of, almost on the grass there, those rear wheels. Yeah. Straight on, gonna skip it. Yeah, that's the spirit. Oh, got some hair there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. A bit of carbon fibre repair possibly underneath that car, but anyway, continues on his way.
20 minutes remaining in this FIA GT3 European Championship race. It's Michael Lyons in the lead. 2nd place is David Mengsdorf, who has...
he's one wide. Big slide coming out of turn 1, and Dominic Buch spun it. He has spun it.
Good spot, John, and Dominic Baumann has, Maximilian Buch has spun on the exit of the first corner. He recovers and retakes the pit lane entry. I was just about to say that the gap is coming down for the lead. The number 11 Lamborghini is going to be challenging Michael Lyons before too long. I thought the number 1 Mercedes was coming with him, but here's the replay.
Yeah,
well, that's the end of it,
just on the edge of the turn when he ran the painted cement curbing on the exit. It's almost like a runoff on the outside of turn 1. Much slipperier than the racetrack, and he just got the car onto it. Once it was on it, it was out of his hands, and he just had to sit there and wait until the car came to a standstill. And
this is the 2 car going around the outside of Nii Amorim, isn't it? Yes. It's not Max Nielsen, it's Mika Vähämäki has taken over. And, but then he's cut the corner, has to let Nii Amorim back through, and will then resume the battle. So this is Mika Vähämäki challenging Nii Amorim. Amorim getting slidey coming out of turn 11, dropping down the hill towards turn 12. And this is the battle over, well, this will be 4th position, 3rd position now actually, won't it? Because it'll be, now that we've had that spin, Mika Vähämäki can smell a podium after a difficult opening weekend. 6th and a 5th, sends one up the inside into the chicane, but he's not quite close enough. The gap at the front though is down to just 7/10 of a second as well.
Still fastest lap going to Ferrari number 50, and Giuseppe Giro doing a 1:37.1, and looking down to see where Giro is. He's still in 7th place. Gaps come down to 15 seconds on that 6th place Russia Ferrari.
Here's the battle for the lead. The Lamborghini right up behind Michael Lyons now, and all of a sudden David Mengsdorf has got himself in the rhythm, and Lyons taking a very wide line, then he sees the attack. It's not going to be close enough. He's going to send it up the inside. The Lamborghini super late on the brakes. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. Brilliant move. I didn't think he was quite close enough. Lyons is going to try to get the comeback, but he can't.
No, that was a courageous move. There was no margin for error. The thing was, he got through the chicane without having to run away. Look at Thomas Enger. What's that, the prancing bull? Yeah, it is. And that's not Thomas. Thomas is not the prancing bull. It's the Lamborghini's the prancing bull.
So there was the move. I think Lyons thought he had defended it, but, well, I was going to suggest maybe that Lamborghini changed onto slick tyres, but all that braking was done on the wet part of the circuit, so we didn't see him change to slick tyres.
We didn't see that car, and we didn't see that.
Oh no, you can see wets. I could see grooves just as he went over the crest of the hill. So he is still on the wet tyres. He's trying to find the wet line as well. But some very impressive pace from David Mengsdorf. He moves into the lead of the race with 17 minutes, I should say, to go.
And that was a really committed overtaking manoeuvre, and it was well executed because in the process he was offline on the entry to the chicane, managed to get the car slowed down at the critical point at the apex, and made it through cleanly. I mean, that's an example of how to make a good overtaking move without having to abuse the curbs.
So David Mengsdorf leads in his Leipertz Motorsport Lamborghini. Second place, the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari of Michael Lyons. Third place now, we just saw crossing the line, the number 2 Igo Motorsport car of Mika Vähämäki. Gregory Gilbert, now he's had a little run out in, well, that's him there. In fact, Gregory Gilbert, now he's taken over from Mark Sword. He's just done the best lap of the race so far, 1 minute 36.172.
So that sent a lock Audi that we thought might have been the dominant car, but of course problems in practice and qualifying for this race. Coming alive with, 16 minutes of this race remaining. Track beginning to look like it's getting more in favour of the dry, slick tyre. But of course the time that would be involved to come in, to put on a set of slick tyres, get back out again, with the time of the race remaining and the lap time that you might attain, the equation doesn't work. Just stay out and find as many damp parts of the track that you can.
Now, this is going to be a little bit interesting. Gregory Gilbert, a lap down on this number 1 car of Maximilian Buch, but he's much quicker. Buch did a 41.6 on that last lap. Gilbert did a 36.1. They must have put slicks. They must have surely put slicks on that Audi. That would be no, he's only done 1 pit stop, but that kind of lap time, he's lapping 6 seconds quicker than the leaders. I can only assume that he's on slicks. Let's hear from Harry Prochik. He took the opening stint. His teammate is now in the lead of the race.
David's having a fantastic stint, looking like a podium finish.
Yes, it was an absolutely big surprise for us because it was my first step in the car yesterday, and then we have some technical problems, but today everything works for us. I think they have to stand a bit longer in the pits, and this was our advance, so we will see. I hope he finished the race.
Thank you.
So good work from Mengsdorf out there. He's extended his gap up to 3.2 seconds, so irrespective, there you can see him, irrespective of the various pit stop penalties that were applied, Mengsdorf has definitely got the pace. He's the fastest man out there, apart from Giuseppe Ciro, who, again, must be on slick tyres because he's running 10 seconds a lap quicker than the rest of the field.
There's no doubt that we didn't get to see that pit stop or the tyre choice, but at this juncture in the race, just under 15 minutes to go, car number 50, Ciro, at 133.5. He ought to be able to take lumps. I mean, he's got a 14-second disadvantage to the Bayern Mercedes, so he ought to be pretty much on that car. And you see it sort of squirming. That's car 51, of course. Then Michael Lyons' car in second place, which we believe to be, in fact, according to the lap time, certainly on the wet weather tyre.
He's 10 seconds quicker than the race leader, and he's 35 seconds behind. So 4 or 5 laps, and theoretically, he's going to be still in with a shout of winning this race.
Well, the only downside to that is he's got traffic, and that traffic, if he catches us at the wrong parts of the racetrack, will take away that advantage. So, while it is, relatively speaking, a straightforward process that we could see that Ciro and that Ferrari number 50 take the checkered flag for a victory, getting to the lead and getting into the lead is not an easy task. There is that car running 10 or so seconds a lap consistent. Well, at the minute it's about 7 now because the gap between the last lap of the lead car was 1 minute 40 against a 1:33 for Ciro as he comes across start-finish line.
So it's 7 seconds a lap on that last lap.
In fact, Ciro's last lap was only 7 seconds.
So he's still in with a shout of a good, strong finish, which would be pretty impressive considering Gaetano Ardagna Perez spun it at the very first corner. And there you can see Ciro on what is a fairly dry circuit now. They took the gamble, and it's paying off at the moment. And you can see there's the Mercedes and Audi just up in front.
And you know, when you're in this situation, you're probably the only car on slicks and everybody's on wet. You think your car is absolutely magic. Wherever you put it, it's got grip. You can lean on it. You can really make the car work the way it's designed to do. You're not having to pussyfoot around in a set of tyres that have done what the best part of 50 minutes racing and are only going to deteriorate by the lap, by the corner. And Ciro just lumping over those curbs. I mean, just using every bit of the racetrack and bits more. He needs to be careful not again to get the attention of the stewards by abusing the circuit.
Yeah, he has already had the warning flag, but he's got such a speed advantage with these slick tyres. Look at this, he's just going to coast past this Mercedes before too long. I think he had to get out of the throttle there in order to find a way past. Looks to the inside for the final chicane. This is going to be an easy job on the brakes for Giuseppe Ciro, and through he goes up into 5th position. He'll have dealt with knee hammering by the time they cross the start-finish line. He's got so much more traction on the exit of the corner, and Giuseppe Ciro comes across the line. He was 35 seconds behind the leaders. He's now 23 seconds behind the leaders. So there's some real excitement down there at AF Corsa. Thumbs up.
And 11.5 minutes of this race remaining. So Giuseppe Ciro is on a mission, and he knows that he's got a car that could give him a podium with 11 minutes and 20 seconds, and what is the total distance? He's now about 23 seconds. He ought to gobble that up comfortably, assuming that he doesn't get bogged down. He's going up against another Mercedes.
Well, this is for 3rd place. He's about to pass Mika Vähämäki for 3rd position into the chicane.
Look at the Mercedes under braking those wet weather tyres. You can see in dry conditions. Look, he just pulls out miles quicker, even on the slick tyre, able to go round the outside like he's not there. I mean, what an illustration of the difference between a slick tyre in these conditions and a wet weather tyre that is absolutely begging for mercy. But take it easy on turn 10. You're taking more and more and more of the inside of the apex of that corner. And again, I don't want to see the marshals, or sorry, the stewards giving this car a warning. There it is, the overtake. In fact, this is the sister car.
Michael Lyons. I think that's just traffic, isn't it? Yeah, so that's him lapping Gregory Gill. Actually, it's Gregory Gill there unlapping himself from Michael Lyons as they both lapped Natalia Frodeno. So Gregory Gill there lapping in the low 34s as well. So that's Lyons coming across the line. So he's in 2nd place. What is the gap between him? Well, there. So it's going to be like 5-6 seconds as they cross the line. 11, not quite, but still, he lapped 6 seconds lap quicker. So 2 laps, he's going to be in 2nd place.
He's going to be past his sister car as they come across the start-finish line. At the end, we're on lap 29 now. So at the end of lap 29, I would expect to see these 2 Ferrari AF Corsa cars either side by side, or the 50 car will have overtaken the 51.
Down the back straight they come. Michael Lyons still desperately looking for some moisture out there to cool his tyres. Into the chicane he comes. They're sliding around everywhere, and it makes you wonder if one of the front runners had opted for slicks, taken the gamble, they'd be in easy street.
Well, it would be all right if your driver was that driver with a gold star rating as opposed to a bronze star. But what happens when the wet weather tyre in these conditions is just the instability of the tread block becomes ever more apparent, and that's why it is so difficult. And again, look at Ciro taking so much of that inside turn 10, the apex, and he is threading the needle on luck in terms of doing what he's doing. But he's running down the sister car in 2nd place, literally by the corner.
9 minutes to go then here at Zolder. You can see the 2 AF Corsa Ferraris now in shot together. The gap was 11 seconds at the end of the previous lap. It's now going to have been slashed down, and Michael Lyons, well, surely he can't fight. Look at the amount of time he's been taking out in these past few laps. This lap time around, it is another good chunk of time, 7 seconds that time. So
now just watch how much he's taking. He drives over the red and white, he's over the curbing, and he's got his wheel actually hooked in, and he hits those two markers which are specifically laid there to prevent him doing that. You know, the front suspension in that Ferrari, by the time it gets to the end of the race, it'll need a bit of attention. That is not what the shock load that's going into that right front corner on the Ferrari, as the two Ferraris now run up the hill from turn 4 into that number 50. I would suggest that the team have a pretty good look and check out all the suspension to make sure. Oh, and a bang it across the curb into turn 5 and 6.
They need to tell him to calm down, because ultimately this race is in the bag.
He's tasking Italian to calm down in a situation like this.
Into the chicane he comes. Let's see how much he attacks this turn 10. That wasn't too bad, but he's now going to drive past Michael Lyons. I have no doubt when he just gets an opportunity. Lyons getting out of shape up the inside into turn 12. Lyons gives him enough. Oh, he moves across. He's not giving up without a fight, Michael Lyons. But up into second position goes Giuseppe Ciro, and he's now only going to be about 5 seconds behind the race leader now.
And there's 7 minutes of the race remaining, so we should expect Giuseppe Ciro get this car. He's been lapping on average 5.5 to 6 seconds a lap. Here is the lead car, there is the second place car, and by the end of what will be lap 30, expect to see a challenge for the lead.
Well, the cars on wets are still looking for some wet track anywhere, but they can't find any. They'd be better off going into the canal here on the left-hand side. That's the only place they're going to find any water on this circuit, because the most of it is absolutely bone dry. 3.6 seconds was the gap between first and second place. It's going to be nothing by the look how much time has been taken out. It's going to be nothing by the time they get down to the chicane, and the move will be done by the end of this lap, John.
Well, it's the prancing bull versus the prancing horse. Well, Thomas Enger, who we saw looking so happy a few minutes ago, well, that smile on his face as the Ferrari just miles quicker through the chicane. The Lamborghini just got out of the way because there was nothing it could do.
So Giuseppe Ciro takes the lead. Gaetano Ardagna Perez is delighted because he spun that car on the very first corner of the race, and now Ciro just needs to make sure he doesn't use too much of the track, more than he's allowed, and can hold on for the final 5 minutes and 50 seconds of this race.
This car, the number 11 Lamborghini, both drivers have done a very good job, and I think they deserve credit for dragging the car up into second place. They've just been simply out-strategied by the use of the slick tyre on this lead Ferrari as it now makes its way into turn 15 and 16. 5.5 minutes remain.
So David Mengsdorf exits out onto start-finish straight again. Look, he's just desperate to get any little bit of water he can onto the tyre. And Ardagna Perez there, absolutely delighted with how things are progressing. Michael Lyons on that last lap was 2 seconds quicker than our second place runner. So I wonder if there's going to be a chance for Michael Lyons to close in this gap ever so slightly. There you can see Harry Projik looking a little bit nervous perhaps, because that second place might be under trouble. Gregory Gilbert has stopped at turn 4, so that's a shame for Science Lock Racing. They're going to have 2 non-finishes this afternoon, 2 retirements for their 2 cars, and I think Lyons is starting to close in, you know, a little bit more. The gap, just looking out the window, looked like it had come down. There is our number 11 car, and there is Michael Lyons behind.
Well, in the minute you get visual sighting of the car that you're hunting down, then that's inspiration. And again, Michael, very much as his colleague in the lead Ferrari, using a lot of the curb on the inside of turn 10. So Michael Lyons comes through turn 11, the car slides. You can see just how much slide and slip angle you get. That's the consequence of running on those tread block wet weather tyres. But the tyres done a brilliant job to hold up. I mean, some of these cars have been pushing very hard on a dry track since more or less halfway through the race when they made their stops.
The gap was 3.8 seconds, 3.6 seconds I should say, between them. I would guess it's now going to be somewhere in the region of 2. Yep, absolutely. So across the line comes Lyons, the gap between them, 2.2.
Comes out by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, that's fair enough. We'll let you off on that one. Into Turn 1, he comes, Michael Lyons. So that means on that last lap, he took out 1.5 seconds. So that means give it another 2 laps and he'll be right on the back. Are we going to have that much time left on the clock, though? It's going to be a race against time for Michael Lyons now.
But Michael Lyons' task of getting past the second-place Lamborghini ain't going to be a walk in the park, because both these cars are on slicks. It's not like Giro in the lead car, who was able to hunt down everybody just simply by being 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds a lap quicker. Michael Lyons might close to the Lamborghini, but just under 3 minutes of this race to go. That will probably be the end of this lap, possibly just one more. So it's a big ask for the young British driver.
Yeah, I think I would guess we're going to get this lap and then 2 more after. Well, actually, it depends, because Giro is miles ahead up at the front, isn't he? So he's going to cross the line a long time before these two. But through turn 11 they come. He's got an 8.6 second advantage up at the front. The gap between second and third was 2.2. It's now 1.4. So Lyons is closing in rapidly. And all of a sudden, after AF Corse are struggling, we could be looking at a 1-2. We're also about to have some inter-team rivalry going on. Mika Vähämäki in the number 2 Heiko Motorsports Gravity Charouz Mercedes SLS is coming under pressure now from Maximilian Buch in the number 1 car.
He was the driver who we saw have that spin in the exit of turn 1, recovering from that spin, cost him possibly podium position, but now trying to make a move on the 4th place, the sister car of the Charouz race team.
Down towards the final chicane, and I don't think Buch is going to be quite close enough to Vähämäki this time, but as they come around to start what will be the penultimate lap of the race, there's always the chance that something can happen, because Nee Amorim's been dragged along with them as well, so he's sitting there waiting to take any advantage that comes his way.
Well, if these team cars get together, there we see Michael Lyons having a little look. He wasn't making an attempt to maneuver, but just get the distraction factor going. Make Lamborghini wonder, am I going to go one way, am I going to go the other way? But I'm with you. That's the thing. Put that Ferrari into the mirrors, but most importantly, into the mind of Lamborghini to try and force a loss of concentration from coming through turn 10, exit out of turn 10. Michael Lyons may get a shot when he makes the run down into turn 12. That's the corner that they're now about to approach.
I wonder if David Mengsdorf destroyed his tyres in the opening laps of his stint, because he pulled away from Michael Lyons very, very quickly indeed. Lyons is now tucked right up behind as they exit turn 12. Nerves all over the place as our race leader is coming across the line now to start his final lap. But this battle for second place very much on at the moment. It's the 11 Rhinos Lippert Motorsport car. David Mengsdorf, who has it right up behind him, is the AF Corse Ferrari of Michael Lyons. This is going to be a fight on this final lap for the second position. Lyons looks to the inside down into turn 1. That's going to compromise his line and just drop him back a few car lengths. That could be crucial. Also could be crucial, Natalia Fredina. Is she going to hold up her teammate? Here she is. Lyons going around the outside. Oh, they contact.
And suddenly it was like a snooker match. Once again, the lead of the Lamborghinis collided with the sister car, and that stopped Michael Lyons. Was about to do the pass of the race by going around the outside of both, and suddenly Fredina's found herself being snookered across the track into the path of the Ferrari.
And that has dropped Michael Lyons back a few car lengths, and I don't think he will get another opportunity unless he sends it up the inside into the very final chicane. It's going to be a real challenge for Lyons to find a position to make it past. Downhill through turn 7. It's all over. This is the battle for second and third position. Giuseppe Giro is 12 seconds up the road, and he's going to come through to win the race any moment now. But Michael Lyons right underneath the rear spoiler, but I think that little incident down there at turn 3 has just put the halt on Lyons' attack. His last chance is going to be down into the chicane, and the chicane is where our race leader is now, Giuseppe Giro. An inspired switch to dry weather, slick tyres sees him come from the back of the field at the opening of the first lap to take the checkered flag. It's not going to be enough for Michael Lyons. It's going to be a David Mengsdorf second position, unless Lyons can get a mega run over the start-finish straight. They cross the line with only 0.2 of a second separating them. The Lamborghini team very satisfied. They nearly weren't very satisfied because both of their cars could have been off.
Well, Natalia Fredina, she just simply was wandering around in the middle of the racetrack into turn 2, and Ferrari of Michael Lyons thought, I've got this, I'm going to go around the outside, and it really worked. It was really because of the contact, if you see this battle further on the field between the two Mercedes, and going to the favour of Niels.
Yeah, Mika Vähämäki in that car now with Max Nielsen, and Maximilian Buch finishing in 5th position. 6th place for Nee Amorim, who struggled to get up to the pace earlier on, but managed to sort it all out. Sergei Ryabov is going to take the checker flag soon, or he may have done already actually, because he's a lap down. But there we can see Harry Proshik. Good opening drive from him. He was absolutely mega in the first sector, kept going purple in sector 1, as we see the 2nd place finisher David Mengsdorf, and then our race winner, our 3rd place man Michael Lyons, just not enough to get past in the end.
Well, in his opportunity, he'd worked it out perfectly. He saw that the sister car to the Mengsdorf Lamborghini was in that no man's land into turn 2. What he hadn't anticipated was that Mengsdorf was prepared to use his teammate Natalia Fredina to use him to push that Lamborghini to the left and prevent the run around the outside of turn 2 from the Ferrari that finally should end up in 3rd place.
So Giuseppe Ciro cruises down the pit lane after what was, well, it seemed like.
I mean, you'd think Michael Lyons has got it all done, then all of a sudden Bosch and all his path around the outside, he had to get out of the throttle, had to take avoiding action, and there you can see the Ferrari team and Michael Lyons, I think that's his mum there, standing cheering him on in the pits, and they thought they'd got up 2nd place on the podium, but 3rd place has got to be.
So the Lamborghini team looking pretty satisfied as well with that 3rd position. There is our Dagner Perez jogging up to congratulate his teammate on the win. And there you can see Giuseppe Ciro. Very, very happy Venezuelan.
Yep, and that
right
means a few more million litres of fuel, no doubt, as the Venezuelans. And a great drive indeed. 2nd place by Mengsdorf in that Lamborghini. Had to defend, and fortunately his team, or the sister car, happened to be at the right place at the right time. It looked like it was going to be the wrong place at the right time, but it worked for him.
Let's hear from our winners. They're down in the pit lane with Haley, Dagner Perez and Giuseppe Ciro.
Congratulations, Giuseppe.
Sì, è stata una bellissima gara, good race.
Well, sorry about those little technical issues. There you can see Stefano Guy having a look at the back of the Ferrari down there. As him and Michael Lyons. Well, Guy was very, very confident, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. But
after qualifying, but he didn't quite pull it out.
But I think Michael, I saw him get out of the car, Stefano Guy ran up to him and said, well done. But I sense that Michael felt that he had the chance for that 2nd place. And you could almost see the frustration when he got out of the car. And, you know, but that's what racing drivers are like. They're never, ever satisfied.
So let's try again with Giuseppe Ciro and our Dagner Perez.
Congratulations, Giuseppe.
Thank you, grazie. The race is very, very fast. My driver is good. My team for work, okay. Very happy.
Congratulations, Dagner.
Thank you, thank you. The race is very good, very fast. My company is very fast in the race. Congratulations for us.
Okay.
They're so entwined as teammates. They just say the same thing.
Yeah, all I have to say is Forza Ferrari. First Ferrari victory this year, and a well-earned one. A great drive by Giuseppe Ciro, who did everything that he had to do to get that car on slick tyres. We believe the only driver in the field to go to slicks at the driver change, and it was a real toss the coin. Was the track going to respond? But once we saw those lap times, basically 10 seconds a lap quicker with 15 minutes to go, it was pretty much a no-brainer. Michael Lyons comes up to congratulate the sister car, and good day finally for Ferrari in GT3.
Even in the wet as well. So
well, the car in the wet is what it was, but it was the car on the slicks that really showed the potential of that Ferrari. And you could see with Giuseppe Giro when he was really hauling in everybody, particularly down at turn 9, 10 and 11. The car just had so much more bite, and he was able to drive the car. He wasn't having to depend on the tyre reacting. He could just put the energy into the car. The tyre gave him the grip and the confidence, and that's where the times came from.
Yes, indeed. So an entertaining FIA GT3 European Championship race here at Zolder. And it's a great win for our Dagna Perez and Giuseppe Giro. Let's hear from our second place drivers in the end. It was tough work for them.
Congratulations, David. What a fantastic battle.
Yeah, it was fun. The race was fantastic. We start from 4 and drive to 2. We was leading the race a long time, so incredible feeling from 4 to 2, and yeah, it's very good.
Congratulations, Harry. Did you enjoy that race?
Absolutely, because I don't expect it. Tell you before, it was the first step in the Lambo. Normally, I'm teammate of Dominic Baumann in the ADS GT, and so it was everything new. But Leipert make a great job, and David shows all that he is really a good talent.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a difficult weekend for Leipert. They had a 4th place, their best finish, with Jesse Lane and Gilles Vanelay in Nogaro. They had a 2nd place with Sledeka and Torreza, but as I mentioned earlier, those two were disqualified for not taking a drive-through penalty. So it's nice to see those Lamborghinis on the podium. Well, one of them anyway, after what was an entertaining race. Let's hear 3rd place, Michael Lyons, not quite able to nick that 2nd position.
Congratulations, Michael. You had a fight on your hands. You almost had it there, but it was just stolen by your teammate.
A bit of another frustrating one. It's good, very good for the championship. It's good for the team again. 2 AF Corsa Ferraris on the podium. Very close. I honestly thought we had it when the 2 Lambos came together. I saw him go inside. I thought it's the wrong way, and then I don't know whether they touched or whether the Lambo we were lapping just moved. I don't know, but I ended up then on the curb and I had a moment. That meant I couldn't attack the next into the first chicane. Then really it's a bit one line to the last bit. I looked to the last corner, but again, same as last race, one more lap. But it's good, great for the championship, great for the team. I think Stefano did a good job as well. He would still a lot of pressure in the first stint.
Congratulations, Stefano. Great result for the team.
Yes, fantastic result for the team. Of course, Ferrari, I do my stint always in P1, but the good choice is slick tires to the end of the race, and we use the same tires for the first stint. We see in optical of the championship, and the next race it will be better.
Thank you.
So hoping for better things for tomorrow's FIA GT3 European Championship are the 3rd place AF Corsas. That's the 2nd race in a row. We've had 2, both AF Corsa Ferraris on the podium. They picked up 2nd and 3rd in the 2nd race at Nogaro. Now they've got 1st and 3rd. Heiko Gravity Charoux's team possibly a little bit disappointed with 4th and 5th. They definitely had the pace to perform stronger than that, but that's where they were dealt, and they will be looking for more again tomorrow. Campanico and Nia Amarim were in there or thereabouts, challenging for podiums earlier on, but they fell back in the end. Toril and Ryabov and Maliev and Ladygin completing 7th and 8th place for the Russian Bear Motorsport squad. Leon Machitsky and Natalia Fredina finished behind them in 9th position. So there's the podium, and we're about to have our top 3 climb up. 3rd position, well, we're going to have our winners first. Gaetano Ardagna Perez, the Venezuelan, and Giuseppe Giro, the Italian, climb onto the top step of the podium for AF Corsa. Much to the delight of the team, no doubt, and how they would love to be on top of this podium for GT1 tomorrow. 2nd place, impressive performance, Harry Prochik and David Mengsdorf, both new to the Lamborghini this weekend. And 3rd place, not quite working out for Stefano Guy and Michael Lyons. The national anthem of Italy will follow as AF Corsa.
Okay, once again, a round of applause for our top 3.
So Ardagna Perez getting his short section of national anthem as well up there. And now the trophies to be awarded. First to our third place finishers, Michael Lyons looking fairly satisfied with that after they've been on the podium. And I think they are the only pairing to have been on the podium for all 3 races so far this season. Stefano Guy, second, third and third. It won't be too long, I'm sure, before they pick up a trip to the top step of the podium. Second position, Harry Procik, the Austrian driver, and David Mengsdorf, the German driver, mainly racing in a DAC GT this year. But our race winners for AF Corsa, Gaetano Ardagna Perez and Giuseppe Ciro, handed their trophies by the race director of Zolder here. Congratulations to our top 6 drivers and AF Corsa as well. It's been a very entertaining race, really, John. That sprinkle of rain certainly spiced things up again.
Well, I mean, if we didn't have the rain, goodness knows what the outcome of the race would have been, but thank goodness with wet track, and again, the ambient temperature staying low, enabling the track to be used either for wets or for slick tyres. But clearly, once the line appeared, the slick tyre was the way to go. But it took a brave decision, and it took a top-line driver to be able to take advantage of it by staying on track, not making errors, and ultimately taking victory. And that's what we have seen from the great drive by Gaetano Ardagna Perez and Giuseppe Ciro, particularly Giuseppe Ciro. He had to get the job done. He pushed really, really hard. We saw that all around the racetrack, and in fact, he probably reduced the length of the track to under 3 kilometres at some points.
There was certainly some exploitation of the track limits out and about there today, but a very good performance from both AF Corsa teams. Predominantly, I think, Giuseppe Ciro and Ardagna Perez, although they both had mistakes, didn't they? Ardagna Perez spinning on the very opening corner was a bit of a mistake that I have no doubt he wished he hadn't made, but then equally Michael Lyons struggling to get the grips. Here's a look at the championship then. 50 points for Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch, only 2 points ahead of Stefano Guy and Michael Lyons. Gaetano Ardagna Perez and Giuseppe Ciro now third place in the championship, despite that non-finish indeed. Gregory Gilbert and Mark Sword still lie 4, and they are on the front row for tomorrow's race. Max Nilsson and Mika Vähämäki in 5th. Nii Amorim and Cesar Campanico are in 6th position in the championship. So a sprinkle of rain meant that the slicks were immediately pushed off the grid. When the race got underway, it was a decent start from Stefano Guy, but further back you can see the 50 car, Gaetano Ardagna Perez, dropping it all on his own on the opening lap. The Scintillating Racing Audis were battling hard amongst themselves, and then Gaetano Ardagna Perez started to pick his way back up through the field. A big moment for Stefano Guy in the lead of this race meant that the Audi could attack, but in the end he lost the position to the Heiko Motorsports car of Dominic Baumann, moving up into 2nd place. Baumann then attacked for the lead around the outside of turn 1, wasn't quite able to pull it off, and again chased that Ferrari as it jumped over the curbs every which way possible, doing everything it could to keep the Mercedes behind, even taking off the Mercedes badge.
Yes, Stefano Guy did a really good job on that run there. We see him out of his car, handing it over to Michael Lyons, and but really the track conditions were beginning to favour the slick tyre. This is the battle that was going on further behind. Ultimately the 2nd place Lamborghini of David Mengezen so did everything he could do further down the field, recovering from that spin. We didn't see it there, but over the curbs and bouncing the Mercedes.
Then unfortunately a spin for the number 1 car of Maximilian Buch dropped him down the field. Nii Amorim recovered well to have some good battles with the Heiko Motorsport team. Michael Lyons did everything he possibly could to try and get past, but the Lamborghini, thanks to Thomas Enger, was just strong enough. The slick tyres, though, worked out an absolute treat for Giuseppe Ciro. He switched onto them at the pit stops and then sliced past everyone, his teammate, and then finally moving into the lead of the race, cruising past David Mengsdorf, much to the delight of AF Corsa. Michael Lyons nearly made 2nd position, but the 2 Lamborghinis got together, and bizarrely that helped Michael Lyons. We've got the 2nd GT3 race of the weekend coming up tomorrow we hope you'll see us then.